I'm so sorry, Hannah. I'm so sorry.
Sometimes I still
Meeting is already in session.
All right.
So this is to use. We're going to use it as a reference as we go along. Point out different sources that are brought down in the Maimer, and at the end you have all the questions and the terms and the summary and everything goes along with it. So this is not meant for you to write into it, or this is going to be sort of permanent book for the class. Before we start the class, I just want to say a few words about the time that we're in. So today is Rosh Chodesh. Happy Rosh Chodesh, everybody. Every month has something unique. So what is unique about the month of Iyar? First of all, it's the Yom Tovim, the holidays in the month. That's what makes it unique. So this month has a Yom Tov, which is in the Torah, Pesach Sheni. That's going to be the 14th of the year. And it has another Yom Tov, which came later in history, and that's Lag BaOmer. And Shabbat, this is a very significant day on the calendar. It is the birthday of the Rabbi Marash, not today, but on Sunday, Beis Iyar. If today would be, if there would be school that day, I would talk about it on that day. But because there's no school, I just want to spend a few minutes to talk about the Rebbe Marash. Just another thing about the month Iyar is also unique in the sense it's the only month in the entire year that every single day has a mitzvah that's unique to this month. And that's the mitzvah of counting the Omer. And the word Iyar is spelled Aleph, Yud, Reish. So one of the things that are written about these four letters is that it's an acronym of a pasuk, Ani Hashem Reifecha. There's a pasuk in Chumash, I am God, your healer. And that means that it's a month that's connected to healing, for refuah. There's also other things, also stands for Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Rochel. But according to Kabbalah, these are called the four legs of the Merkava. So every month has something unique, and these are a few of the things that are unique about the month of Iyar. Just to say a few words about the Rebbe Marash. The Rebbe Marash was the fourth Rebbe of Chabad. He was born on this day, which means that it was, in terms of the spheres, Tiferes Shevet Tiferes. And naturally, one of the things we see about all our Rebbeim is, on one hand, every Rebbe was a continuation of the Rebbe that preceded him. In other words, sometimes you find there's certain leaders, I'm not talking about Lahavdil in the secular world, every new leader is out to do the opposite. So every leader is out to take away any credit from the previous leader and show how he's much better and that he's doing it right. In the Torah world, it's just the opposite. There are great leaders that wrote the Mishnah. Then came the next leaders, and all their learning was insight into the Mishnah. Those are the Amoraim. After the times of Gemara came the great leaders called the Gaonim, and all their teachings was to learn and understand what the Gemara is saying, not Chaz v'Shalom to undo it, but just the opposite, to learn and understand the depth. And everything we learn in every generation is completely based on what was taught in the previous generation in general. But nevertheless, we do see that there are many tzaddikim that every generation is different, that they do things differently. You don't see so much in a in a very clear way how each one is following in terms of the learning, yes, but in general, they conducted themselves differently. Things were different. By Chabad, you see it much more clearly how each Rebbe is a direct continuation, and not a continuation, but expanding more and more what was started by a Rebbe before. Nevertheless, each Rebbe is different, has something unique, because it's a different generation, and it's a different Avodah, and so each one has something which is unique. One of the things that are pointed out by the Rabbi Marash, which is unique, is the phrase you've heard probably many, many times, and that is Lechatchila Riber. The complete phrase was said in Yiddish, and the complete phrase was the Welt sagt, the world, meaning out there, they say, if you can't go under, then you go over. And I say, Lechatchila, go over. That was the Rebbe Marash's principle. When you hear the Rebbe talk about it, you could think that the Rebbe Marash said this 3 times a day, or maybe 3 times a week. We only have a record of him saying it once. But the Rebbe says that this statement and this phrase, and first of all, could be he said it more times, but it's not recorded more than once. That this was something which defines the Rebbe Marash, to the extent that when the Rebbe speaks about the Rebbe Marash, sometimes he doesn't even say his name. He just says, sings the song of the Chatchila Riber, the Rebbe of the Chatchila Riber. That became his description. That became his identity, the Chatchila Riber. So what does the Chatchila Riber mean? And does it something that's relevant to us? So there's many ways it could be explained, but I'll try to explain the general concept. The general concept, what does it mean? If you can't go under, you go over. It means when you are moving towards a certain, thank you. You're moving towards a certain direction, and you want to have a certain destination, something you want to achieve, something you want to accomplish. There are always obstacles in the way. Not always, only if it's a good thing. If it's a good thing, there are obstacles in the way, and there are things out there that are blocking you. So there's 2 ways to deal with it, generally speaking. One way is that you wrestle with it, and you wrestle with it, and you wrestle with it till you knock it down, get it out of the way, and you keep moving forward. The other way is called the Chatchila Riber, which means I don't give it any substance. I don't pay attention. I just do what I have to do. I pretend that it doesn't exist. I just go right over it. That's the expression, go over it. Doesn't mean physically jumping. It means to say transcending, like I don't give it any substance. I don't pay attention to it. I just go where I have to. And if I don't give it any substance, it won't have any substance. That was the approach of the Rebbe Marash. It also expressed itself in another way. And that is, one of the biggest obstacles is something called teva, nature. Naturally, we have so many limitations. We're restricted in so many ways. Tzaddikim who used to perform miracles, they didn't have those restrictions. So we know one of the differences between Chabad and all the other Rebbes, all other Rebbes, including the Rosh Hashanah himself, used to perform open miracles. When I say open miracles, it means something where you openly, clearly see that this is something miraculous above nature. The Rebbes of Chabad also performed miracles, but by them, it was much more camouflaged, much more hidden. You had to really look close to realize and see that it was a miracle. In fact, they made an effort to do it in such a way. And if you remember from the classes of Hasidic Way of Life from last year, you might remember the reason why. But generally speaking, the Baal Shem Tov did open miracles. Somebody would be standing in front of him and he would tell him, this is what you were thinking about last week, Tuesday in the afternoon, 2:00. Or tomorrow, you're going to walk down the street, someone's going to approach you and it's going to sell you something, buy it. And tomorrow he walks down the street, someone approaches him, open prophecy, open Ruach HaKodesh. And with the Rebbe Chabad, we hardly ever found something like that. And the one exception was the Rabbi Marash. He did do things which were open miracles, which is also a form of the Chatchila Riber, which means not giving substance to Derech HaTeva. Many stories of Rabbi Marash that he did things in such an open, miraculous way.
I don't understand what you mean about open and miraculous. Like, I don't get it.
What does it mean?
Like,
it means that a Rebbe can tell somebody, I think you should see this doctor for the condition. Go to the doctor, and this doctor says, no, it's not so bad as the other guy diagnosed it. It's not bad. And then all of a sudden he says, well, I don't think it's not a problem. Really, it was a miracle. But the Rebbe sent you to a doctor. The other, the Chatchila Rebbe would mean when the Rebbe says, the doctor said such and such, don't worry. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to be fine. You don't have to even go back to the doctor.
That's open miracle.
That's an open miracle. How did it disappear? What happened? But usually, the Rebbes would do things in a way that it appeared, in fact, people could say, sometimes we see things happen, you could think that it's a miracle. The famous story with this guy who was driving to a meeting. It was a big businessman, and this was a big, important meeting. If he does it right, he could make a profit of $1 million. It's supposed to be there at 3:00. He's driving his car, he can't find a parking spot, drives around the block again. And all of a sudden he realizes it's going to be 3:00 any moment. If he's not there on time, he's gonna lose out. They might not even do business with him because you're not there on time, you're not an efficient person, and he's desperately panicking, looking, he can't find a parking spot. So he says, Hashem, if you give me a parking spot, I will start putting on tefillin every day. Please, I need to be there by 3:00. Turns the corner, there's a parking spot. So Hashem, forget it, I found the spot already. Okay. So basically, things could happen, and they could be in a miraculous way, and yet it could be easy to interpret it that no, it was just a natural thing. Yeah.
Are there stories of the Rebbe performing sort of open miracles? Like someone would come to a Barbrengen and they would have a medical condition, and he would have them take l'chaim, and then it would be gone. Are there not open miracles?
So the truth is, with the Rebbe, there were some stories like that, but on a regular basis, the Rebbe was, I would say, was hiding things more than any other Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe sometimes spoke openly. I saw my father, which had passed away a long time ago, and he told me this and this, he told me that. These are things that you hardly heard such words come out of the Rebbe's mouth. And with other Rebbeim, they were more open, not like the Rebbe Marash, but by the Rebbe, generally speaking, very concealed. And there were from time to time, something like that happened. I mean, over the recent years, when they started publicizing stories, and people get up there to actually openly tell their personal stories, which they never did before on a public forum, you hear stories that are very similar to that. That's true, but it wasn't so known. So there are stories of the Rebbe Marash like that, where he told people different things, and they saw openly the Ruach HaKodesh and the miracles that he performed in an open way. So that's why he's associated with this idea of the Chatchila Rebbe. But in terms of avodah, where we can apply it to ourselves, this is something you hear from the Rebbe over and over and over in the sichos, in his letters, in his advice to people. Stop giving substance to whoever it is or whatever it is that's blocking you. And how many times I've seen in letters where the Rebbe writes, the reason why you're having so much difficulty with this person or with these people or with this company is because you're giving it too much substance. If you stop giving it substance, they'll stop giving you heartache. That's what the Rebbe will tell many people. And there's also another interesting thing is we don't have a picture of the Rebbe Marash. The Rebbe Marash passed away very young. He was 48 years old. And that was also done in a very Lechatchila Rebbe way. He was not well for pretty much many years in his life. No one expected that this is happening. And it was the night of Yud Gimel Tishrei. He told his secretary, I want to speak to my sons. Called them in. Then he took his clock. He had a clock, which is on a chain where people used to wear in those days, and put it into a pocket of a vest. Took out the clock, took a piece of paper, stuck it under the handles of the clock, set the clock to a certain time, I think 11:20 or something like that, spoke to his sons, and exactly at that moment, 11:20, after that, he passed away. He prepared before, not just that it's happening tonight, but the exact minute when it's going to happen. Anyway, we don't have a picture of the Rebbe Marash, but they say that the Frierdiker Rebbe resembled the Rebbe Marash very much. So we have pictures of the Free Rebbe when he was younger, because after all, the Free Rebbe was 70, the Rebbe Marash was only 48. The Free Rebbe, when he was younger, was a striking resemblance to the Rebbe Marash, to the extent that the Free Rebbe visited Israel in 1928, 29. And naturally, whoever was there that was connected to Chabad came running to see the Free Rebbe. There was once an older chassid. One of the people that came was an older chassid. He walked into the Free Rebbe's room and he fainted. And the reason why he fainted was because the striking resemblance was so much, he thought he's looking at the Rebbe Marash, to the point that he fainted. The Rebbe told the story more than once. So the Rebbe, this is something which the Rebbe sort of took as his own personal path as well, l'chatchila Rebbe, in everything. In general, Chassidus is a l'chatchila Rebbe kind of approach, in general. But this is within Chassidus itself, sort of l'chatchila Rebbe in l'chatchila Rebbe. But that's what the words mean. L'chatchila Rebbe means don't try to struggle with it, and if it doesn't work, then you try to ignore it. Just l'chatchila, ignore it. Of course, it doesn't mean ignore nature, because if someone's sick, go to the doctor. But ignoring is in the sense of not worrying, no anxiety, no crying, no sadness, just to be absolutely confident that Hashem will make things work out in a good way. And that's what makes things happen. Okay, to tell one story of the Rebbe Marash, and then we'll go back to the Maimer. But one of the famous stories of the Rebbe Marash is that the Rebbe Marash used to every day go for a ride with his horse and wagon. He had a wagon driver. Generally speaking, by the way, the Rebbe Marash conducted himself in a very very royal way. Everything that he had was he had money, and things that he had were sort of nice. The horse and wagon were more like a horse and wagon of some nobleman or something. Like it was done in a rich way, and each Rebbe had their avodah. So he'd go for a ride. Officially, it was for health purposes, to get air, fresh air, and he'd go out and come back. So one time, as he was going through the regular route, he stopped and he said, "I want to go into this house." Knocked on the door, goes into the house, and there's only two kids there. And he says to them, "Where's your father?" "He's away." "Come, let's say some Tillim." Okay, so he's sitting with them and he's saying the Tillim, and the children are repeating after him. It was about to, and then while this is happening, the mother comes home. She's the Rebbe, of course. She stays from the distance, but she can't. What is the Rebbe doing in our house? Saying Tillim with her children. And then the Rebbe mother sees how the Rebbe picks himself up, starts walking. Then he comes back. "Come, let's say another chapter of Tehillim." Says another chapter of Tehillim. And then he walks out and goes on his trip. Her husband had gone. Where did he go? He went to collect rent from the people, with certain peasants who rented homes from him or fields. He went to get money from them. And it was getting late. He still hadn't returned. Normally he's back. And it's very late at night. He still hasn't returned. Of course, they were very worried. Midnight, they hear him knocking on the door. He opens the door, comes in, and he collapses. Of course, they pour water on him, wake him up. Finally, they get him to say what happened. So he said he went to one of his customers to collect money. And the guy said to him, "I'm getting sick and tired of this. Every month you come to get money from me. Every month. I want to make an end to this." And he grabs him. He ties him up. And he says, "I'm going to get my axe. I'm just going to kill you. And you won't come anymore to bother me for money." And of course, he was who he was. And he was drunk on top of that also. So he knew that this was serious business. And he was, davening that he should help him, should protect him, should save him. And he put him in the barn. And then he sees the wife of this guy. He went to look for his axe. The wife happened to walk by. And he calls her, says, it tells your husband wants to kill me, please untie the ropes. And she said, I can't. If you do that, he'll kill me. So he said, he's not going to know. Just do this real quickly and run away. He's not going to know it's you. She untied him and he ran. But he knew that the guys would come running after him. So he came to a place with a very tall grass. He hid in the grass. And he waited till late at night that he'll be able to go on. And of course, that's what happened. He couldn't find him. So he ran to look for him. And he said he came so close that he could smell the whiskey. That's how close he was. But he didn't see him. He couldn't find him. He was just cursing and screaming and shouting. And then he went back. After he went back, he stayed there for another hour or two. And then he got up in the dark of the night and he ran home. So they understood the first time that Rabbi Marash said to him was that he should get untied. Second time he said to him was that he shouldn't find where he's hiding. And that was just like an open, again, it's not a person who wrote to the Rebbe for a bracha, but he was connected to Rabbi Marash. The Rabbi Marash saw what was happening and gave him that bracha. That's an example of the Chatchila Riga. Okay, we'll go back to the Maimer. What's interesting, one year the Rebbe gave out a coin on Lag BaOmer. And on one side of the coin it said Lag BaOmer. On the other side of the coin it said Lechatchila River. Everybody that was there by the Lag BaOmer parade. The Rebbe had a coin made up. It wasn't a real coin that you can buy things with it, a coin, but it said on one side of the coin, it said Lag BaOmer. The other side of the coin, it said Lechatchila River. It was brought down in the Sichos that the spirit of the Rebbe Marash is Teferes, Shevet Teferes. Today is Teferes, right? Anyone know what Omer is today? Chesed Shevet Teferes. Tomorrow, Shabbos is Gevurah Shevet Teferes. And Sunday is Teferes, and Sunday is Teferes Shevet Teferes, the third day. Lag BaOmer is Hod Shebahod. That's the day of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. However, there's an opinion in Kabbalah that the way we count the spheres is the reverse. The way we do it is the first night is Chesed Shebechesed, and then Gevurah Shebechesed, and the last day is Malchus Sheba Malchus. There's an opinion in Kabbalah to do the reverse. We go backwards. The first night is Malchus Sheba Malchus, and we woke up, and the last night is Chesed Shebechesed. So it's interesting that if you go in that way, then today is Hoyd Shebahod, like Lag BaOmer, and Lag BaOmer is going to be Teferes Shebet Teferes, like Rabbi Marash's birthday. Wow. So the connection, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was also a Lechatchila River person. The Gemara tells us in the Zohar the stories of miracles that he performed, open miracles, and so on. One more thing about the Lechatchila River, I can't contain myself. Okay, one more thing about the Lechatchila River, now because it's relevant to this week. You know, when the Rebbe said those words, do everything you can, and everybody was shocked, and what does the Rebbe mean? He didn't spell it out. And people were begging and writing letters, what does the Rebbe mean? And I spoke about it. But anyway, this Shabbos, this is a week and a half later, a little bit less than a week and a half, Shabbos Tazria Mitzayra, like this week, the Rebbe spoke about it. And he said that the best way to bring Mashiach is by learning in Yoni Mashiach Gula, learning subject in Torah that relates to Mashiach Gula, that brings Mashiach. There's a number of reasons for it, but one of them is we find something unique about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and that is that there's a story in the Zohar that there was a time there was a drought, there was no water, and of course, no water, no rain is dangerous. It means there won't be any crop, and people are going to starve. Chas v'sholom. So they came to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Normally what's done is there's a special prayer for rain. In fact, there are halachas. What happens if you daven for rain and there's no rain? You declare a fast day. What happens if there's still no rain? You declare another fast day. There's a whole procedure of how many fast days you do. Another thing, you take the Sefer Torah out into the street. There's a whole, Baruch Hashem, we don't have it, so we don't need it. But years ago, that's what they would do. There was a special way of praying for rain. In fact, the Gemara says there was one tzaddik, Choni Hamagel, right? He was called Choni the circle maker. he would pray for rain in a different way. He would go into this out in the field, take a stick and make a circle around him on the floor, and say to Hashem, Hashem, I'm not going to move from here until you bring rain to your children. If I would do that, Hashem said, okay, stay there again. Make sure somebody brings you breakfast, lunch, and supper. But he was very dear to Hashem, so Hashem brought rain. They came to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he did something very different. He started to say words of Torah, and he began to explain what does it mean. Hine matovu manoyim sheves achan gam yachad. He explained it according to Kabbalah, that it has to do with the unity of Zoh and Malchus, and how that is the concept of rain in the spiritual realm. And after he finished speaking, it started to rain. In other words, not that I'm praying, I'm begging, I'm pleading with Hashem, please bring rain, but I am learning about rain up there in the spiritual realm, and then automatically it starts raining down here, which means, in a sense, through learning, you're creating rain up there, and once it's created up there, it comes down here, which is another form of l'chatchila riba. So there's a concept, and we find this by other stories, by especially tzaddikim connected to Chassidus and Kabbalah, that when something was going on, they would say something in Torah related to the subject, and just by saying that inyan in Torah, that would correct whatever problem was going on. So here, the Rebbe said, learn about Mashiach HaGeula, and that'll bring Mashiach HaGeula, just learning about it, because everything has its roots in Torah. That's where it comes from. That's the source of everything. So if you learn about something in its source, then automatically it'll come down here. So the Rabbi Levi Berditchever used to have a meeting every year with the wealthy people of his community. And the meeting was about help support the community. And one of the things they did in the beginning of the year was they asked people to make a pledge how much wood, how much firewood they're donating. In those days, heating up a home was firewood. So it's a lot of money to get the firewood. So the people donate a week of firewood. I'm donating 2 weeks of firewood, a month, and together they paid enough firewood for the whole year. So he came home, the Rebbe said, so how did the meeting go? So they were very successful. They gave money, they were very generous. And then she, with a smile, said, and how much firewood did you donate? So he said, I donated 2 weeks of warm weather. In other words, he doesn't have to fight. When he goes upstairs, changes the thermostat up there, it'll be warm weather down here. So it's the chatchila riba.
If only we could all do it that way.
Okay. You know, when people write to the Rebbe about, let's say, Simcha, the Rebbe says, learn this in this chapter about Simcha. They write to the Rebbe about B'tachon, learn Cheves HaLbavos that talks about B'tachon. In other words, not only because when you learn about it, it guides you what to do, but just learning about it in Torah actually makes it become reality. Okay, so we have covered until what? 68, right? We're in the middle. We're in the middle.
It's 63, I think.
Yeah, we're in the middle of chapter Ches.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're right here. Right, 66 is where we're up to.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So we're meeting in the middle between like 63 and 68.
Yep, page
Alright.
66. And that's where he says that the reason why this person sees everyone as an opponent and looks at other people and feels that they're threatening him is because of Yeshus. Because of his Yeshus, he feels that everybody is sort of taking away, detracting from his presence in some way or another. His presence would be more glorified if the other presence wouldn't be there. Like saying, If there's less furniture in the room, there's more room for me and my furniture. So if there's less presence of other people, then I can extend myself, expand myself, and spread myself out, then it'd be more of me. This is the story with the Tzemach Tzedek that a chassid said to him, and actually it was not an ordinary chassid, it was a chassid who was a very big Torah scholar, studied a lot of chassidus, somebody that worked on his personality and character traits, and he said, the Rebbe, the people in shul have no respect for me, they step all over me, they don't respect my opinion about anything I say. So the Tzemach Tzedek said to him, who tells you to spread yourself out in the entire shul, that wherever they're stepping on you? What does that mean? It means that if someone, children have a nature to do that. They go to the door, no other better place, right by the door, and they lay down on the floor, and then they start crying while people are stepping on them. Like, could you mind going someplace else? And it won't happen. So if you lay down in a place where someone else is supposed to be walking, they'll end up stepping on you. So everyone has their spot and their space. But if you spread yourself out all over, wherever someone is walking, they're stepping on you. To translate that in a simpler language, like there's a question how to do something and you have an opinion, so no one else is allowed to have an opinion. If they have an opinion, they're stepping on you. You want to be the one to speak today. If someone else speaks, they're stepping on you. You want to be the chazan today. Someone else is the chazan, stepping on you. So in other words, if you spread yourself out all over, you have to be everywhere. You have to be in control of everything. Everybody else is stepping on you. That's yashus. Then he says the following. We're at the bottom of page 66, where it says the paragraph that begins with the word do to how many sins, or k'meish nimtza. As we see, unfortunately, in the later generations, in all Jewish communities. So the good news is that it's not something so new. It's been around for a while. This Maimon was written over 100 years ago. What's going on in all communities? There are differences of opinion. Every issue and every question that have to do with the public and the community, there's different opinions and people are in conflict. But especially when it comes to issues that are related to holy matters. Page 67. For example, questions about Rabbanim. Who should be the Rav? And other things about the Rav. Sheikhtim. Who should be the Sheikhid? Beis HaKnesses. What should be in the shul? Should it be like this? Should it be like that? People just don't find it impossible to unite. Everyone is strong on their opinion, and it becomes a controversy. It becomes an issue. It becomes a conflict. Adrabah. Mashazeh Omer. A person says something that he has an opinion, his friend says exact opposite. This person builds something, the other person comes along and destroys it. Day is the fact they have different. What can we do? We have different opinions. No, it's not really different opinions. It's really Pirud Levavis. It's division of the hearts. In other words, don't think that these differences originate in just intellectually because you think differently. That's what it looks like. But the real truth is it comes from not having in you the union of achdus, of unity. The fact that he says the opposite of his friend, it's really not because his seichel dictates that it must be this way. Only this way makes sense. The reason why his seichel might dictate it is because that person says, yes, I have to say no. Why does he want it? Sometimes you can actually see that the issue that they're arguing about, and this person says, I believe it has to be done this way. It's interesting that in a different area that has nothing to do with this other person, he actually thinks the other way. Why is he thinking differently here? And he'll find some excuse for that also. But the real reason is, the reason why I'm saying the opposite over here is because this person who I don't like says this way, I have to say the opposite. Yep.
So if someone has the trait to just be like very argumentative and like even if they don't have like they just have strong like opinions on this subject, they like all of a sudden have strong opinions just because someone else is like fighting. So is that like the quality of yeshus that they just like looking to like bicker?
That's yeshus. In other words, what should they do? If I have a different thing, what should I do? Generally speaking, a person should look for a way to negotiate with the other person, find a middle path, find a way to work things out. But when you see that it's like, I guess also, if you see it's only with one person, then you could say it's just a difference of opinion. But if it's with one person and another person and another person, there's, the concept of chazaka in Torah, when something happens 3 times. So there's a lot of halachas that are based on chazaka. For example, you have a field or you have a house, and someone comes along and says, it's my house. So the halacha is, if you were living there for a year and no one said anything, it's still not yours. If you're living there for 2 years and no one said anything, you still can't prove it's yours. But if you were living there for 3 years, and during the 3 years, no one protested, no one came along and said it's not yours, then you have a chazaka that it's yours, and the burden of proof is now on the other person. Or the laws about an ox. If an ox gores a person one time, we say it's still a tam, meaning to say we assume that this was some sort of an accident. A second time, but a third time it does it 3 times in a row, then we say this is the nature. What's the logic in the chazaka? The logic is like this: when something happens one time, you say maybe it was very hot, maybe he was in a bad mood, maybe he woke up on the left side. Something happens 2 times, we say maybe it was another reason this time. When something is consistent, it happens again and again and again, we don't assume that each time there was a different reason. We assume there must be one reason why it's happening in all these different circumstances. So in this case, it probably belongs to him. In this case, because that must be the nature of the ox. And same thing with many other things. So when a person gets into an argument with one person, you can say they have very big differences of opinion. But especially if you see that it comes up with one person and another person and a third person and a fourth person, usually that's a sign that it's really more about just arguing. And the reasons are just the external sort of camouflage on the outside. So why does he want this and so strongly? Rak, only because his friend wants the other way, so he has to say the opposite. Sometimes in a marriage where husband and wife are having little issues and they're dealing with a mashpia, dealing with a marriage counselor, the wife would say, I really need my husband to do this things, but if I'm going to tell it to him, he's going to do the opposite. Maybe you could say it to him. And if you say it to him, he'll accept it. But if it doesn't make sense, why would he accept it from anyone? The answer is because with the other person, it's a power struggle. So if they say that, I have to do the opposite. But with the third party who's not involved in this power struggle, it makes sense. Why not do it? V'aynu mitzad pira devavis. Before I came to Machon, I used to teach the boys in the Torah many years ago. So many years ago, more than 40 years ago.
Did you only do the boys for like 1 or 2 years and like?
No, it was a little bit more than that. But I remember there was once this was a young boy, he was like 16 maybe, and they're supposed to be reviewing the Gemara between each other with this. And instead of doing that, they're talking the whole time. So I walked over and I said, I've been watching you for the last half hour. Maybe it's time to start learning. So he said what other people think. He said, I was just about to start learning, but now that you're telling me to do it, I'm not going to do it. Why? Because that means that the Yeshus doesn't allow that I should do it because you're telling me to do it. So it's about Pirul al-Vavis. She'einam yichelun nizbel zeh zeh. The reason why they oppose each other in the way they think is because they oppose each other in feeling, because they don't get along with each other because of Yeshus. And unfortunately, very often, Rabbi Hanover come? Yeah, he's there. Okay. Yeah. This last line is a very important line. I'm going to leave it. And if I forget, remind me, we have to do this last line at the end of page 68. Okay. Thank you. Good Shabbos. So if this can go back into the show, I would appreciate it. Back into the shelves. All these books.
Oh, they were They were being held on those shelves?
Yeah.
My workout for the day. Oh, yeah. One. I went to the Yoho yesterday morning. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have Rabbi Hanukkah. And look at how the world.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's something to do with clever bees or something, way of taking attendance or something like these things intimidate me. Anyone can help me with this stuff? I don't.
have no idea how.
I don't know. I don't do these things. They get, you know.
How was your
Okay.
case last?
All right. Maybe one of you girls can do it. I don't know.